Believe me, come March 17th, the strategy I will have to beat Chavez, I will be victorious come March 17th.
At 17, Meldrick Taylor was America's golden boy, an Olympic champion with lightning-fast fists. By 24, he was a feared two-division world champion, beloved by fans. But one brutal night in the ring left lasting scars, sending him from glory to obscurity. Now, at 58, his name evokes both admiration and tragedy. Before his life took a darker turn, Meldrick Taylor was a name that represented speed, talent, and promise. At just 17 years old, Taylor stepped into the spotlight when he represented the United States at the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Competing in the featherweight division, he delivered a standout performance throughout the tournament, resulting in a gold medal victory that instantly launched him into the national sports conversation. Following his Olympic triumph, Taylor wasted no time turning professional. He made his pro debut later in 1984, and over the next few years, he climbed the ranks of the light welterweight division with precision and purpose. With blazing hand speed, impeccable timing, and an aggressive but intelligent style, Taylor built a reputation as a fighter who was hard to hit and harder to keep up with. Commentators and fans quickly dubbed him the Kid and TNT, nicknames that reflected both his youthful charm and the speed he brought to the ring. By 1988, just 4 years into his pro career, Taylor reached a major milestone. He faced Buddy McGirt, a dangerous and experienced opponent, for the vacant International Boxing Federation light welterweight title. In what became a clear showcase of his skill and stamina, Taylor controlled most of the fight and forced a 12th-round technical knockout, earning his first world championship. This victory didn't just confirm his elite status, it was proof that he could rise to the occasion against world-class opposition. Taylor continued to ride that momentum into the welterweight division. In 1991, he moved up in weight to challenge Aaron Davis for the World Boxing Association welterweight title. Davis, undefeated at the time, posed a significant risk, but Taylor's experience, ring IQ, and relentless pace allowed him to edge out Davis in a competitive 12-round bout. Winning titles in 2 weight classes by the age of 24 was a rare feat, and Taylor had accomplished it without ever ducking challenges. What made Taylor truly special wasn't just his record or titles, it was how he fought. His style was built on speed. He would throw 5 or 6 punch combinations in the blink of an eye, often before opponents could even react to the first punch. His footwork allowed him to glide around the ring, cutting angles and creating openings that others didn't see. Unlike many fast fighters, Taylor didn't simply box from the outside. He stayed in the pocket, outworked opponents up close, and overwhelmed them with volume. This combination of technical skill and sheer athleticism made him one of the most electrifying fighters of his generation. Taylor also enjoyed a level of financial success that many fighters never reach. During the peak of his career, he earned millions in purses and fight bonuses. His high-profile status led to endorsements and appearances on major boxing broadcasts, particularly HBO specials that portrayed him as one of boxing's young superstars. However, like many athletes at the time, Taylor lacked a strong financial strategy for life after boxing. The money came fast, but so did the expenses. There was no long-term plan in place, and the people around him weren't necessarily equipped to manage the wealth he was accumulating. Still, during his prime, Meldrick Taylor had it all: fame, fortune, talent, and titles. But as history would soon show, all of that success came at a cost, because behind the speed and power was a fight that would nearly break him and cost him everything. On March 17, 1990, in Las Vegas, Meldrick Taylor stepped into the ring for the biggest fight of his career. It was a unification bout for the World Boxing Council and International Boxing Federation light welterweight titles against Julio Cesar Chavez, the undefeated Mexican legend who carried a perfect record of 66 wins with no losses. Taylor was also unbeaten, sitting at 24 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. This wasn't just another championship fight, it was speed versus power, and the boxing world was ready to see which one would break first. From the opening bell, Taylor did exactly what he had promised. He boxed at an extraordinary pace. His hand speed was on full display, firing rapid combinations that Chavez couldn't match punch for punch. For most of the early rounds, Taylor stayed in control. He beat Chavez to the jab, moved in and out before the champion could set his feet, and racked up points on the judges' scorecards. The crowd could feel it. Taylor was building a lead against one of the most feared fighters in the sport. But Chavez was not the kind of fighter you could dominate without paying a price. Round after round, he kept moving forward, absorbing punches and landing his own heavy shots whenever he got close enough. Unlike Taylor's quick punches, Chavez's blows had weight behind them. They dug into the body, rattled the head, and slowly wore Taylor down. As the fight went on, those punches began to take a toll. Taylor's face swelled, his eyes puffed up, and though he was still landing more punches, the physical damage was starting to show. By the championship rounds, Taylor had injuries that weren't visible to the crowd but would later be revealed by doctors. He suffered internal bleeding, kidney damage, and facial fractures. Still, he kept fighting at a furious pace, determined to beat Chavez on skill and heart alone. Going into the 12th and final round, 2 of the 3 judges had Taylor ahead on the scorecards, and all he needed to do was stay on his feet. However, with just 17 seconds left in the fight, Chavez landed a sharp right hand that sent Taylor to the canvas for the first time that night. The crowd erupted. Taylor struggled to get up, clearly hurt but determined. He beat the count and stood in front of referee Richard Steele. But instead of answering Steele's instructions verbally, Taylor simply looked toward his corner. Steele, seeing no response and with Chavez ready to pounce, waved the fight off. The official stoppage came with just 2 seconds left in the fight. 2 seconds. Taylor had been only moments away from a decision victory that would have made him the unified champion and handed Chavez his first loss. Instead, the referee's decision handed Chavez a technical knockout win, keeping his record perfect and leaving Taylor in shock. The damage from that fight went far beyond the result on paper. Taylor was rushed to the hospital immediately after. Doctors found he had a fractured eye socket, several facial fractures, and serious kidney injuries. The punishment he absorbed that night was far worse than most fans realized. The fight was later named Fight of the Decade by The Ring magazine. A thrilling battle for the fans, but a brutal night for Taylor. Many in boxing still believe that the Chavez fight permanently changed him as a fighter. His speed was never quite the same, his reflexes slowed, and the punishment he took that night seemed to mark the beginning of a slow decline that would play out over the next decade. After recovering from the brutal punishment he took that night, Taylor decided to move up to the welterweight division. Thankfully, he didn't just move up, he kept winning. In 1991, he faced Aaron Davis, who was undefeated at the time, for the World Boxing Association welterweight title. Taylor boxed smart, used his speed, and won a unanimous decision. At only 24 years old, he was now a 2-division world champion. While on paper, it looked like he had bounced back from the Chavez loss. Inside the ring, subtle changes were beginning to show. He was still fast and still active, but the sharpness wasn't the same. The kind of lightning combinations that used to overwhelm opponents now came just a fraction slower. And in boxing, that fraction can make all the difference. The first real sign of trouble came in 1992, when Taylor took on Terry Norris for the World Boxing Council light middleweight title. Norris was known for his speed and power, and he didn't give Taylor a chance to settle into the fight. In the 4th round, Norris landed a vicious combination that left Taylor badly hurt. The referee stopped the fight, giving Taylor a knockout loss that was as brutal as it was decisive. 2 years later, Taylor agreed to a rematch with Chavez. Many saw it as a chance for redemption, but the reality was harsh. Taylor's style, built on speed and quick reactions, was no longer enough to keep Chavez at bay. This time, Chavez didn't need to wait until the final seconds. In the 8th round, Chavez's relentless pressure forced the referee to step in again, handing Taylor another technical knockout defeat. By then, it was clear that the physical toll from their first meeting had left a lasting mark. Outside the ring, insiders close to Taylor began to notice changes that went beyond his boxing skills. His speech became slower, and his words sometimes slurred. In interviews, he didn't have the same quick, sharp delivery he was known for, and his reflexes seemed dulled, even in casual conversations. When HBO later produced its Legendary Nights episode on the Taylor-Chavez fight, fans were shocked at how much Taylor's voice and mannerisms had changed, and this sparked speculations about cognitive decline. As the 1990s went on, Taylor's career faded from the spotlight. The endorsements and big opportunities that might have sustained him after boxing never came. He wasn't offered a steady role as a trainer, commentator, or analyst. Without the television appearances or sponsorship deals that many retired champions use to maintain income, Taylor's financial situation became unstable. The millions in fight purses he had earned in his prime were long gone. Without consistent income, he struggled to keep up with expenses. Unlike some of his peers who transitioned into business ventures or broadcasting, Taylor didn't have a backup plan. And in boxing, once the paydays stop, they stop for good. And as his career faded, the personal turmoil, legal trouble, and public controversies outside the ring would prove just as damaging as anything he faced in the ring. In 1998, Taylor made news for reasons that had nothing to do with sports. That year, he pleaded guilty to insurance fraud after filing a false report claiming that his $84,000 Mercedes-Benz had been stolen. Investigators determined the report wasn't true, and the case ended with Taylor accepting guilt. This news was a disturbing development, especially for fans who had followed his career since the Olympics. The clean-cut image of the young gold medalist was starting to fade, replaced by stories of poor decisions and legal trouble. 2 years later, things got worse. In 2000, Taylor was arrested in connection with an assault case. Court records show he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 23 months of house arrest. The scandal painted a picture of a man struggling to manage his emotions and personal life in the years after the glory had faded. And while he avoided prison time, the conviction added another blow to his public image. By this point, the signs of his physical and mental decline were already apparent to anyone who saw him in interviews. His speech was slower, his thoughts seemed harder to articulate, and he no longer carried himself with the confident energy he had in his prime. But the most dramatic and troubling incident was still to come, because in June 2019, Taylor found himself in the middle of a situation that made national headlines. According to police reports, the former champion became involved in a heated dispute with a tenant living in a property he owned. The argument escalated to the point where Taylor allegedly threatened the tenant. Reports also revealed that when authorities arrived, Taylor refused to leave his home, and what followed was a tense, 90-minute standoff with law enforcement officers. The standoff ended with Taylor being taken into custody without injury. However, the charges were serious. He faced counts of aggravated assault, making terroristic threats, and possession of a weapon. Taylor went from being a man who had once been celebrated on the Olympic podium and cheered by thousands in sold-out arenas to a man being led away in handcuffs. Public reaction to the incident was a mix of shock and sadness. Some longtime boxing followers pointed to the damage he had taken in the ring as a possible factor in his behavior. Others saw it as a tragic example of a champion who had never been able to fully transition to life outside the sport. The media coverage was intense. News outlets revisited his career highlights, replaying footage of his Olympic win and the epic battle with Chavez, before showing the mugshots and court documents from his latest troubles. It reignited public interest in his story, but not in the way he would have wanted. These legal controversies didn't just hurt his public reputation, they also deepened the financial struggles he had been dealing with for years. Legal fees, court fines, and the difficulty of finding steady work with a criminal record made stability even harder to achieve. By the time of the 2019 standoff, Taylor was no longer the smiling, lightning-fast guy that boxing fans had adored. He was a man in his 50s, dealing with health issues, money problems, and a history of bad decisions that had caught up with him. The contrast between the young Olympic champion in 1984 and the headlines in 2019 couldn't have been starker. But to understand why Meldrick Taylor's life turned out this way, you have to look beyond the legal troubles and the poor choices. You have to understand what years of brutal combat can do, not just to a fighter's body, but to his mind. By the early 2000s, the effects of Meldrick Taylor's years in the ring were no longer something only trainers and doctors could see. They were visible to anyone who watched him speak. Medical evaluations eventually confirmed what many suspected. Taylor was exhibiting symptoms of pugilistic dementia, a condition caused by repeated blows to the head over a long period of time. Pugilistic dementia is a form of chronic brain injury often linked to chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's the same condition that has been found in many retired fighters and combat sport athletes. The symptoms line up with what Taylor was experiencing: slurred speech, memory problems, slower reflexes, mood swings, and difficulty processing information. The physical damage didn't stop with his brain. Years of absorbing punishment, especially in fights like the battle with Chavez, left Taylor with permanent neurological changes. Repeated head trauma disrupts the brain's ability to function normally, and in boxing, the damage often develops slowly over time. Even after retirement, the effects can worsen. Taylor's coordination, balance, and reaction time all declined as the years went on. This not only limited his ability to stay active in boxing-related work, like training younger fighters, but also made daily life more challenging. The mental health impact was just as serious. Former champions often struggle when the roar of the crowd fades and the structure of training camps disappears. For Taylor, those challenges were compounded by his brain injury. Friends and boxing insiders have said that he became more isolated, sometimes erratic in his behavior, and prone to making decisions that put him in legal and financial trouble. The assault case and the later standoff in 2019 didn't happen in a vacuum. They were part of a larger pattern of instability that many believe was connected to his neurological decline. There's a well-known truth in boxing circles. The sport doesn't just take from a fighter's body, it takes from his mind. In Taylor's case, the very qualities that made him great, like his willingness to trade punches, his refusal to quit, and his determination to outlast opponents, also made him vulnerable to long-term harm. He absorbed hundreds, if not thousands, of headshots over his amateur and professional career. Some were the kind of clean, hard blows that instantly daze a fighter, while others were smaller, repeated impacts that caused cumulative damage over years. Sadly, this kind of damage is mostly irreversible. While therapies and medical care could slow the progression of symptoms, they can't restore the sharp, vibrant athlete he once was. But Taylor's decline is not unique. Many fighters from his era share similar stories of brilliant careers, followed by years of health struggles once the cameras are gone. But Taylor's case hits harder, especially because of his rise from a 17-year-old Olympic champion to a two-division world title holder, only to be brought down by the very sport he once ruled. And yet, despite all of it, Meldrick Taylor is still here. But you'd be surprised to see what life has been like for him in recent years and where he is now. Today, Meldrick Taylor is 58 years old. He lives in Pennsylvania, far from the bright lights and crowds that once defined his life. The Olympic champion who stood on the podium and the young man who fought in some of boxing's biggest events now live quietly, with little public presence. Reports describe his living situation as modest, a world away from the luxury and fame his peak years brought him. Taylor no longer plays an active role in the boxing community. He doesn't train fighters, work as a commentator, or appear regularly at major events. For many former champions, Those roles become a way to stay connected to the sport and maintain income. But for Taylor, his health challenges and public controversies have kept him from building that kind of post-career path. Financially, Taylor's situation is far from the multi-million-dollar status he once enjoyed. Estimates of his net worth today range between $100,000 and $1 million. Even at the higher end, that's a fraction of what he earned during his prime. Without significant investments, business ventures, or endorsement deals in retirement, the money from his fighting days did not grow over time. Instead, it was spent, lost, or used to cover legal issues and living expenses over the years. There are also no public records of Taylor owning businesses, launching a foundation, or establishing other income streams after boxing. When it comes to family, Taylor has always had the support of his brother, Myron Taylor, who was also a professional boxer. Myron's career never reached the same heights as Meldrick's, but the shared experience of the sport has reportedly kept the brothers close. Beyond that, there is little publicly available information about a spouse or children. Taylor has kept his personal life private in recent years, making it difficult to know how large his inner circle is or how much daily support he receives. In many ways, Meldrick Taylor's current life is a reflection of the highs and lows he's lived through. He has the memories of a career that few could dream of, but also the health struggles, financial challenges, and quiet obscurity that have become all too familiar for retired fighters. Do you think Meldrick deserved the win against Chavez? Drop your answers in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.